Right, this is Mr. Hulk's Handybook from 2004. A Handybook focused entirely on Hulk. I hadn't really thought on it much before, but it's insane to think how Hulk's position as a main Marvel character has been derailed by the movies. You look back to even 2004, Hulk's comic was dreadful at that point, but he was still one of Marvel's most notable characters. Spider-Man, Wolfman, Hulk. That was like the pecking order. Now he's nothing. All because Marvel and Disney don't own the distribution rights to any Hulk movie. Here is our credits. And that art there is the cover to Hulk 62 from 2003 by Mike Diddy Dardo Jerk. We'll be shitting on that horrible run in this video. And this here is repurposed art from the cover to Hulk 460 by Adam Q Balls, one of David Peters' final issues. It was a great cover though. We actually have some okay art choices for these profiles. They are still often cropped badly or positioned in a way where you are cropping off of Abomination Man's arm. But the art piece, I think, is good enough for its job. It is the power grids that I would say are the true problem with this one. As with most things, they sort them out eventually in these handybooks, but it stands out in this, and especially our next profile, Crusher, using artwork from the original handybooks and cropping his ball, chain, elbow and calf. His power grid is so inaccurate. It's one of the problems is scaling. The other is they were judging this in a way that was completely unhelpful to Crusher. They were thinking, oh yeah, he's not that strong, ordinarily. For comparison's sake, this is his power grid from the final round of entries. He was fortunate, he was right at the start of the alphabet before the series was cancelled, only getting to the letter J. And they were still using the same Don Wilson piece from the handybooks, and they're not really cropping it anywhere near as bad. I don't need to repeat this thing that I have said plenty, but Hulk has a poor rogues gallery. This handybook really echoes that. Crusher is shared with Thor and others. And then we have... I almost missed this because of how they cropped it, but this is art from the Master Edition. Whenever they would reuse art from that, it was bad. That artwork doesn't work outside of that series. You would have characters in these awkward poses with their hands facing different directions. Before I got distracted by that, I was going to say that this is a really pitiful profile. Doc Shanner with his iconic rifle. You never see Doc Shanner without his famous bolt-action rifle. It's so well known that they had to include it in the one image showing the character. He would look completely naked without his popular rifle. And then on top of that, they cropped it. There's also plenty of characters you could include in here to maybe not spell out so clearly that Hulk's rogues gallery is deficient. Hulk, he doesn't have a bad rogues gallery. He has a badly maintained one. You could have included Glory Hole, Moonstump, Juggernaut. The latter two are as shared as Crusher, but they at least have more presence than Woman and Energy. You have waited, and now you will receive my unfiltered opinion on the Les Battersby run on Hulk. The then current run on Hulk, which nobody talks about, and if they ever do, it is to say it is awful. I read a lot of it. I kept reading it. I don't know why. It was an incoherent shit show from pretty early on. It's hard to even explain because it's so... There's this secret group called Home Base, as seen here. But there's also another secret group who are pretending to be Home Base. And there's, I think, cloning and conspiracy and dead people. And it's fucking naff. The whole thing is so fucking interminable. I see people are always upset that they have never collected that run properly. And the thing is, you can tell those are people who haven't read it. They are people who just want everything on their shelf. If they had read this run, they would not want it. David Peter naturally retconned the runaway as being a dream anyway. Hulk, Dale Cooper art. Not the best art for a profile. His chest is facing away, but it's fine. We have 6 pages on Hulk, including a much, much, much better, practically perfect Handybook shot of David Banner. This is from the Vague Age of Hulk, the Joe Kelly run. Great run. That's the one you want to read instead of Les Battersby's run. It's also like only 10% of the length. Another image here showing us 2 other Hulk variants, Professor Hulk and Jim'll Fix It. His power section is a page and a half. Who is your favourite Hulk bad guy? There's a chance they're not even featured in this. Jarella, some more art school Handybook artwork. Dickie Jones. This art comes from Captain Marbles, the real one. Genesville, issue 19. This is when he reunites with Marla. I remember the scene and everything. At least they only chopped off his guitar. Marla, by the way, very exclusive type of character there. She has never received a Handybook entry. She has had powers. She is cosmically significant. She is a vessel for Lady Death. Never had a Handybook profile ever. I think she's maybe actually the most major character who has never had one. Dickie Jones gets 3 pages, but one of them is artwork that doesn't even feature him anyway. It is meant to show David Banner saving them, but this art is from The Last Titan, so you could argue it's not even a canon version of that sequence. Hulk, the end. The story is called The Last Titan, but the comic is Hulk, the end. And that one's from Captain Marbles, the real one. Genesville, issue 1. The first series, well, the second series, the first David Peter series. The other picture from the page before was the second David Peter series. And even though he has all these pictures featured on his 3-page profile, no picture showing him as Bucky Man or as a Hulk reader. And I think this Handybook profile might be the last time he ever appears with the broccoli head. And the thing that, in my opinion, is making some of these images stand out as better choices than they normally have in these 2004 Handybooks is that they are pulled not from comics, but instead merchandise. They're still not perfect, but they're better than a character randomly holding a sniper, aren't they? Now, I loved this design, but he stopped dressing like that by the end of his introductory story. They don't even have an image showing what he looks like underneath, which is how he appears ever since. The big, swollen monster. It's good that they didn't show that, because it means I don't talk about my nemesis here. Majestic. I'm amazed this Hulk was able to conquer the world, what with him only having one arm. Power grid fail. Majestic is consistently ranking lower than Hulk. Bigger fail over here. We have a team entry for the Pants Brigade, led with art of one of them. One of them that wasn't even real. Art from the Master Edition. You can see what I mean about the hands. Well, this character was a facade. This wasn't a real person. It was a disguise. And everything about this choice of art is stupid. And then you have a more fitting image for the profile on the next page. Cover to Hulk 424 by Darren Richardson, co-creator of the Vid Kids. They have never received a Handybook profile either, the Vid Kids. Fucking Rhino Man. Who in their right mind considers Rhino Man a Hulk villain rather than a Spider-Man one? The profile is also crap because it hardly mentions Spider-Man and it focuses on his infrequent appearances in Hulk. Rhino Man isn't in the Spider-Man Handybooks. He was on the cover to one, but he didn't have a profile in them. This is our Rhino Man profile, and it does a bad job of covering his history by trying to make the argument that he belongs in Hulk's Handybook when his more regular appearances are elsewhere. Quiet Riot, more Dale Cooper art. The thing with Hulk villains, Hulk characters even, is that a writer will introduce Quiet Riot, or the underrated Speed Freak, and then the next writer won't bother with them. You have valid and workable Hulk villains, but the writers and editors are interested in the same ones, or creating new ones that follow the exact same cycle of nobody using them afterwards. One of the shit things in the Les Battersby run is Home Base, or the other group, or both of them. They are being led by Jennifer Connelly or Liv Tyler. She is back from the dead, but she's not actually her. I don't know. It's hard to read, and it's even harder to remember. At least we get to give her a profile when that was her setup. She has a pistol too. She's always carrying that around. She's afraid Doc Shanna will shoot her with the gun he's always got, so she has her own. Arizona, stand your ground laws. She, an unpowered regular civilian, has better rankings than Crusher. General Harrison Ford, before he became a Red Hulk. Art from the classic Handybooks too. God, he too has better numbers than Crusher. Jonathan Frakes. I reckon they have just copy and pasted the actual power grid from Harrison Ford's. General Applblap. And again, they've just repeated it, haven't they? They're all army men, so they didn't put any thought in and just used the same power grid. The Troy McCluers. You may remember them from David Peters' Hulk run and nothing else. Another good example of never appeared in Summit by another writer. Tyrannomon, one of Hulk's very first villains, and that is more vintage Handybook artwork. I'm surprised to see him get 2 pages. They were in the habit of really cutting things down. UFOs. I think all of them will eventually receive individual entries. More Les Battersby conspiracy characters. So many civilians in this. And they still never had room for Marla. Until Dawn. This art is from Captain Marbles, the real one, Jeunesse Val, issue 2 or 3, from the first David Peter series. It has the Blair Witch cover with Marla. Zach Morris, who also fought Cables in a memorable story in the late 90s. Now here is the index, and I am noticing these are actually reminiscent of parts of the Master Edition profiles. Shame they got rid of these. It is useful information for people wanting to know more, and even to source some of the stuff mentions. There's the contents on the back. I never even got to talk about how much I ate the cover. Sally LaRue makes the same mistakes that all of his Handybook covers do. On the topic of art, the Les Battersby run on Hulk has disturbingly decent art throughout. Junior, Lee Months, Mike Diddy Dardo Jerk. It also has some of the worst covers ever. I don't think this is either a great Handybook or a solid compilation of characters related to Hulk. You don't have to think long to realise She-Hulks is missing. Hulk has another Handybook in 2007. We will see if that improves on things. All I remember is that it had quite bad use of colour on the headers, making it hard to read. I'll give this 7 thumbs up.